How's everyone going? Welcome to the first episode of the new year of The Sit Down, and I'm joined by Tessa DelZoppo Groff now and Nick Groff. Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a blast. It's a pleasure to have you guys. It's nice meeting you, Nick.
Yeah,
I've actually, I guess I really didn't realize it at the time, but I've watched so many episodes of Ghost Adventures and all of your shows, for years and years and years. And my sister's such a big fan too. She's fascinated by everything. She's actually like sick with mono.
Oh,
she got mono.
Well, shout out to your sister. Hope she feels better. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. She'll be better. She's happy she's missing school. So I know she's like, everyone got COVID and she's like, I got mono. So.
Yeah, she's got to just switch it up.
I know. But how was you guys' Christmas?
Awesome.
Yeah, it was wild. It was good.
Very Italian.
Yeah, Santa was very grateful this year.
Yeah.
Yep. Kids got hoverboards and
a drum set. Yep.
They got what else? Jurassic Park stuff and
yeah, they got everything. They were good boys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So many things.
So cool.
I'm trying to remember what there is.
Yeah.
We're like the real life Addams family over here, so we never know what's gonna come.
Yeah. So Italian. Like, what'd you guys eat? Usually? Like, what's Christmas? Do you guys do 7 fishes on Christmas Eve?
Well, it calmed down after both my grandmothers passed away, and my dad's side of the family was from the Abruzzo region in Italy. And they went nuts. Like, when I tell you any type, like, they say 7 fishes, but there was like 7. But my dad is big on it. So he's like the person to do the fish in the family. And then normally I'm in charge of everything else.
Nice.
So we did do fish. We did Christmas Eve.
Shrimp.
We did,
lasagna.
Pizza.
Your cousin Johnny.
Yeah, my cousin Johnny is an amazing cook.
Yeah.
So for Christmas, he made 2 trays of lasagna. I made homemade bread.
Oh, the bread's amazing. I swear I ate like half a loaf by myself.
Yeah.
She makes incredible bread.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the one thing my mom doesn't do. She doesn't do bread. My nonna used to do it for years and years, and my mom's like, it's too much.
It's like either you know it or you don't know it. It's like touchy, right? Like you either learn it right away, and then it's like, oh, that's not bad.
I remember growing up, my nonna had like this giant blue laundry bushel that she used to make the bread in.
Yeah.
And then, like, I guess when she wasn't using it, she'd just use it as like the laundry bushel.
Yeah.
So old.
A lot, then.
Yeah.
Just make like tons of
yeah. One of my favorite memories. Bonanno, my nonna's been gone for it's almost 5 years now, but she used to make little bread characters, like little bread people with us. It was so cute. Yeah,
that's amazing. I have to try that.
Yeah.
Bread characters.
Will you pull out all your grandma's old like bowls and everything that you make it in?
She'd make them like little gingerbread, and they'd look like gingerbread men.
It's so funny because like my grandmother, my Nonna Rosina, who was my great grandmother, she had these big like green, like lime green tins, and she would bake in them and then store everything in them. And then my grandmother on my mom's side, she had all these plastic bowls and things that she would use. So I use them and they're all cracking and I won't throw them away. So I'm like taping them and I'm like, don't put it in the dishwasher. Don't ruin it. Because it just, I don't know. What works.
I know, for sure. Yeah. So what have you guys been up to recently? I know it's been over a year since I saw you posted that you were on like over a year ago. Oh my God. It's been like, it feels like 2 days, but also like 10 years. It's just like the weirdest past couple of years.
It has been busy and like things change for everybody, but it's cool to see how things progressed for everybody and directions that they went in. He's been busy with his show, filming and things like that, right?
Yeah, always busy. I think it's just constant of like how you keep creating yourself, how you keep evolving and stuff like that, especially with everything that's going on from cable networks. I was in the cable networks for like over 15 years. Now it's all streaming. So I foresaw that happening about 3 years ago. So I started moving all my stuff that I'm doing creatively to that kind of that area.
For sure. So what are you working on now?
Deathwalker. So I have a new series that's out right now called Deathwalker. I just filmed 20 episodes last year, or actually the last 2 years, into piloting it into an actual series. And then now we're doing 20 more episodes. We film a lot around here, Western New York, down in Ohio, a lot of different places.
Okay.
Tessa was in 2 of the episodes. Iconic location, Myrtle's Plantation. And then a hospital that you almost died in, actually.
Yeah.
Here
Yeah, you texted me that. And I go, oh, why?
I'm like, If you need anything to talk about, we did some cool episodes.
It was amazing.
Yeah, so the one episode that we did, which was really interesting because so his cousin who really finds and researches a lot of the locations that they go to, he came to him and it was like, oh, there's this, abandoned hospital and it's in the area. We should check it out. So Nick is like, have you ever heard of this place? And I'm looking at it, and at first it didn't register, and I looked it up on a map, and I'm like, this was the place that I literally almost died in. Wow. And I believe that, I think I was born with my ability, but then I think that near-death experiences can enhance those for people.
Okay.
And kind of bring it out. It connects you more to the other side because you're so close to that, right? And when you come out of it, it's like this commonality that people develop abilities. They see spirit. They have intuition.
What was the name of the hospital again?
We call it, the Northeastern Hospital.
Okay.
They wanted to remain anonymous because they're actually kind of changing hands right now.
Yeah.
But it's an amazing location. But not only that, like we're going to a lot of iconic locations like Myrtle's Plantation. I did that on Ghost Adventures years ago, and I saw that ball fly off the steps. So that was really cool to go back to. This time Tessa came with me to do readings on the property because there's a lot of like stories that have been stretched into not the truth and whatnot. So I love putting the facts down to record and really digging deeper and pulling layers back. So it was really interesting to have Tessa there, kind of do a reading on the property. You actually picked up on this girl with this red hair.
Yeah.
And I had no clue about this. And then we get inside and there's a painting, old painting of a little girl with red hair.
Oh my God.
That stayed there at one point that I didn't even know on records. Yeah. So it's just really, really fascinating stuff.
And I'd never been there before.
Yeah.
And everybody
I didn't tell her anything.
Where's the
about
plantation?
It's in Louisiana.
Okay.
So, yeah. No, it's Natchez, Mississippi. Am I getting that wrong? Maybe I'm thinking of a different location.
No, because we went into
Louisiana through Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Rouge. Yeah, so in that area. It's the deep south. It was.
Yep.
And what's funny is like for him being on Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Lockdown, I never watched any of his shows.
How'd you guys, not to interrupt, but how'd you guys meet?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good...
Through a ghost.
Really?
Through a ghost.
Through a ghost.
Ghost hooked us up. Through EVPs.
On my podcast, I had him as a guest. I've been friends with Dan Class, who owns the Hinsdale House, which is local around here, which is really a cool location. Was an episode on Paranormal Lockdown that he did. And Dan Class and I were very close, and I had him on my podcast, and then we had Nick on as kind of like a third guest. And it was weird because we just started talking like we'd known each other for 40 years.
Yeah, forever.
It was the weirdest thing, and it was pretty much just that was it.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
Pretty much our buddy Dan Class. Shout out to Dan.
Cool.
Shout out to Dan.
I know, because you guys are like a paranormal power couple right now. I think that's a good term.
That's what people keep saying. Yeah, it's really fascinating to see it all come together. I really think it was meant to be. The universe is like that, though. I believe not in coincidences. I think things happen for reasons, and everything is to evolve. And as a human being, you just kind of look at those things. But no, it was really. Definitely fascinating how we came together, but I think it was meant to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Dan's a good guy.
It was funny because and that just goes to show whatever you want to call it, right? Like divine timing. We consider ourselves soulmates, things like that, and the way that the universe pulls you together. When I met him, I was kind of like, yeah, that'll never happen. We don't even live, near each other. I was like, this is awesome. He's a great guy, and it's probably never going to happen because, who would have thought? But then we were just inseparable.
So cool.
Yeah.
Where did you live?
I was traveling. I was just starting to get Deathwalker off the ground. So I was out in New England, like Boston, New Hampshire area. And then once I finally got that going, I was talking to Dan Class anyways, because the production house, everything that we do is here.
Yeah.
So it kind of made sense anyways to begin with,
Yeah.
like situating myself, moving more so like just working here and everything.
Yeah.
And then basically we really hit it off, and we were dating for a while, and then it just, I don't know, it was just deeper than just like, dating somebody or like, oh, this is cool, you like that person. It was just much deeper, and we're both like very spiritual. So
Naturally.
it's like I remember the first time we were together, and all of a sudden Frank Sinatra comes on, right?
Oh my! So it's the weirdest thing, right? My
You
grandmother.
gotta tell this story.
It's
great.
so. I'm very dramatic too when things happen, like my expressions. You'll see, like on episodes and stuff. But like we were at this house, and it was the day of my grandmother's passing. My grandma and I were like this. She really raised me. She was a big part of who I am. So, and it was weird because we were so busy. There was an event, you know, that we were doing and stuff like that. And I come down the hallway and out of nowhere, he starts playing My Way by Frank Sinatra, which was my grandmother's song. And it was weird because when she died, she had told me prior to her passing, like, I want you to play this at my funeral. Nobody else in the family knew to play it for her. It was just me. So it was like, it was a very connected thing. And I'm walking down the hallway and I just hear him playing it. And I stopped dead in my tracks and I looked at him and I'm like, why are you playing that song? What are you doing? Why are you playing that song?
But the craziest part was I didn't intentionally play the song.
Mm-hmm.
It just started randomly playing. She didn't know that though at the
Yeah.
moment. So it just started playing and I got like goosebumps and I didn't even know what she was about to say. So I had goosebumps and I was like, it's weird. Is it Airbnb? Is something weird here? You know, my whole paranormal senses start kicking on.
Yeah, and it was
And then
strange.
she says that. Yeah.
But then I didn't realize, and I felt terrible about it. I didn't realize it was the day of my grandmother's passing.
Oh
That
my
too.
god.
I
Yeah,
had no
so
idea
weird.
because it was my son had surgery and stuff like 2 days prior to that. It was like an emergency surgery. Things just were all over the place. So we were just trying to take it easy, calm down for a minute
Yeah.
after the chaos. And he played it. And then all of a sudden I picked my phone up and I looked and I'm like, oh my God, it's October 4th.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just weird because I always feel like our loved ones on the other side, and you've probably heard me talk about this before, but they will intervene and they push you in directions. They'll guide you. They push you from the other side to go this way or don't do that or, you know. And so I really believe that my grandmother had a big part in kind of
So
making
cool.
that happen, as well as your
100%.
grandfather too.
Yeah,
Your
my
grandpa comes
grandfather was
around a
really,
lot.
really powerful in that sense.
Yeah.
He always has been ever since like Ghost Adventures of the beginning when I created that. My grandmother died right before I got the documentary off the ground. And I just remember her coming to me and I worked so hard to get that documentary. Like when I say blood, sweat, and tears, like that's what went into Ghost Adventures, the original documentary. And I just remember her wiggling my big toe and like weird things like that and the connections there. So my grandfather would always tell me stuff before he passed away and everything. Like, you know, he just kind of guided me and stuff like that. But I don't know. When we came together, I think they both got together on the other side. It was like, let's
What do
bring
we
these
gotta
two
do?
together.
Yeah, so I mean, talk about that. Like, what's it like? I guess going on a date and like, do you get like?
all my other friends are like, you can't hide anything from a medium. You know, that's what they always say me, and I always say I don't
That's
have anything
funny.
to hide. So that's the best part about it.
Yeah, so like, I guess who came through? I guess initially, and did you like, I guess lean into it and try to communicate with whoever showed up for Nick?
I don't know if I
She
ever
never did that. Yeah, which is really cool because let's be honest, I've met a lot of psychics and mediums in
bet.
my life, and a lot of them are full of BS. And seriously, but when I met Tessa, there was something super genuine about her. She doesn't come off like that. Like, you know, there's a big difference when you meet somebody and they're trying to like preach their stuff on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It goes for anything. Like I think anybody or with any like instance of that intentions gets a little weird. But Tessa was just like us being us. And then once we really got to know each other, we just had like like dreams or visuals or connections, or I would think something, then she would say the same thing I was thinking. You know, it's like, this is
so
really
weird.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Or she would pick up on stuff, or vice versa. I would do it to her too, I think. And it was just, I don't know, you never really read me. I think one day I was looking at you, I was like, what do you see behind me? Like, what is it? Like, I'm just like, what is
just
here?
knows.
Just tell me. And
He like knows my cues now, so like I do things with my face or like my eyes will go a certain way. Like if I'm picking up on something, and he'll be like, "What are you feeling? What are you seeing?" But I've never read him. The cool thing is I think past lives and our like he's known about past lives before I've known about my past lives, and then we learn that it kind of linked up, and we've had the same visions, and so we believe that we do have past lives together.
Okay. Can you like go on a little bit about that? Because that's kind of like where I'm like, okay, do I like believe? Because people talk about past lives, but I guess no one's ever given me like an explanation. I actually just was listening like a podcast or some like watching a video yesterday, and someone had mentioned it. And it wasn't even about like mediums or psych or readings or anything like that.
Yeah. So it's strange because I always say that our things that we're drawn to in this life, so whether it be career, people, you know, just our interests in general, I think reflect, and our fears too, that's another thing. I think those reflect things that happened to us or our past lives. So, for example, like a lot of people you'll see who go into the military have probably spent time in the past in a war of some sort, or nurses, healers, doctors in this life. Maybe they were that back in their life, before as well. And I feel like there's these patterns that happen. Our fears, there was this one person that I talked to who had a severe fear of the water. Okay. And no matter, they didn't want to learn how to swim. They didn't want to go anywhere near a body of water. And it was weird because then they did this past life regression. Come to find out, without knowing anything, the woman had said that they died in a shipwreck and they drowned.
Oh, jeez.
So it's weird, right? Why have such a fear of water now for no reason? And then you hear something like that and it links up to your past life. So I think that there's a lot of things that link up. And then I also think too, we were just talking about us and our connection. We have a soul circle. And so the people that you meet in this life where you're I think I've known you before. I don't know why, but I feel like I've known you. Those types of connections, our kids, our family, we might have those connections with those people as well. And I think it all kind of just trickles down. And, I always say nothing's a coincidence. So those relationships you have with people, those connections, I think they trickle down from past lives. Yeah,
I got to say, this stuff I've heard Tessa talk about, or even read people, or even watch her just being in the audience and watching her. It's absolutely astonishing. I don't know where she gets it from, but I'm learning she sees it as and you can explain it better, photographic images. And that's what I found really, really interesting. I think especially when we started investigating that location for Deathwalker, because you were picking up on this little girl, that she saw a little girl there walking around in the hospital area. And obviously she was seeing her, she was talking to her, she could hear her, but I didn't realize, and it kind of slipped my mind after a while, and you went away, and it was just my cousin and I investigating the whole place by herself the rest of the night. After we interviewed you, talked to you, and she picked up on a couple of things. Later on, this girl's voice started coming through my audio device. And it wasn't random, or it wasn't off and on. It was multiple times, and I started having a full-blown conversation with somebody from the other side that has died. Now, what's the craziest part is, we left the location. We got amazing evidence. My cousin Justin did more research because I'm like, hey, Tessa, after the investigation, I'm like, hey, we got this girl coming through. And she's like, that's the same girl I was picking up on. Justin researched and found a girl that actually died, the exact age she said, the exact name, everything, got hit by a car, brought into the hospital, and died in that area in the trauma center room. So it was wild. I mean, it's just, there's too much validation, I think, and I think we would be super naive to think that the brain, we know everything about the brain, on every day. Even the most genius scientists in the world or whatever can't even figure out the brain or the universe that we live in, the alternate realities or dreams, state or whatever. So I think it's very fascinating, and I definitely think Tessa's one of the most incredible people I've ever met. Not just from a love or passionate side of things, that too, but I think honestly, a lot of people I think have near-death experiences or tap into something else where the brain actually has that ability to do these things. But the thing is not a lot of people are balanced to understand it. I think a lot of people I've met, they go one side and maybe they do have that ability, but they drift in their journey or in their life or what they're supposed to be doing. She's just completely balanced. She has the smarts, the wit, and she understands what's happening, I think at a very young age. And I think that's what kind of molded her into being this person who has that ability. So it's really interesting.
So cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, when you meet people, you have to look at the whole package, right?
Absolutely.
You can't just look at the face value, or you can't look at the mentality. She offers everything. And I think that's why a lot of your casino shows, or when you do readings or your gallery readings and stuff like that, I mean, she touches deep. I mean, pretty much everyone there is crying at the end of the time. I'm like, you're making people cry again. But it's good cries. You know? It's emotional, embracing the stuff that they wanted to know before their grandmother died, or loved ones, or somebody that came through. And it's not always grandmother or your son or your whatever.
This last show that I did at the casino, the one here in
the Seneca.
Yeah, the Seneca. It was strange because, I do multiple readings throughout the night. And there was this one younger guy that kept coming through, and I know what I'm picking up on, but it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person in the audience, A, either wants to talk to me about it, or B, maybe they're just very nervous, or, it's a lot for them because it's very emotional, and it's
and then you're in a crowd too,
right.
Which I'm sure could get uncomfortable.
Not everybody's used to speaking in crowds and things, so it's hit or miss on whether or not the person will speak up. But when I feel like I need to be very adamant or persistent about something, I do that. And there was this one that kept coming through, and I would bring it up and nobody would say anything. And I'm finally I was you know what? I know for a fact that somebody in this audience knows who this is. I'm going to find you. It ended up being this girl who never thought she would have been chosen. Mm-hmm. And she was with her friend, and her friend was actually the one hoping to get...
She only bought the tickets and brought her.
Right. It was kind of hey, I got the tickets, you want to come with me? And she was yeah. And it ended up being this woman's nephew. And he had died very tragically. Mm-hmm. I believe he was murdered. And he was just very big on coming through, letting her know that he knew what they did for him, at his wake and stuff. Because what they did, and I don't remember fully, but it was something very unique and very special to him that only he would have known, And so I gave her that reading, and she's crying. And then after the show, she came up to me, and she's just full-blown crying. And, I was 3 months pregnant at the time, too, for the show. So my hormone, I'm, ready to cry. I'm don't do this to me. And I'm, hugging her, But it just goes to show that, when spirit wants something to come through, they're very persistent, and, they find a way to get that message across, which I think is fascinating.
For sure. Yeah, I had the same experience years ago. My old house in New Hampshire had all this weird stuff happening in the basement where I would work and stuff. So I invited this person over who was a medium randomly. I never do that. And this person comes over and is oh, you have all this negative stuff here and blah, blah, blah. And then they're there's this weird figure, this man walking from this room through your little hallway to where you work, and he's guarding you. I'm who's, all right, whatever. And he's wearing a cowboy hat. He's carrying a rifle in this kind of Western cowboy outfit, and he knows you, and his name is Rodney. I was oh my gosh, it's my old neighbor from Las Vegas. When I lived in Las Vegas, I befriended this guy. His name was Rodney, and he would show me his rifles. He used to work at Bugsy Siegel's casino when he was 13 years old. He'd tell me crazy
So some good stories, I bet.
Oh man, this guy told me all sorts of stories. But I was very appreciative and respectful of him. He would get at the end of his life, he would get stuck in his wheelchair in his carpet and stuff. So his wife would call me over, and I would have to go over there and I'd lift him up and help him around. Every day we'd walk outside because it's Vegas and it's nice out. So we'd walk outside and we just talk right there. Our houses were right next to each other. I just really befriended him, and I think he was I was kind of the son he never had because he had daughters or whatever. Yeah. So he would talk to me about all sorts of stuff. He'd tell me get into silver coin stock, and he'd be telling me all sorts of stuff. And I don't know. And then I moved away. I think a year after I moved away, he died. Oh. He passed away, and then that's when stuff started happening. And the person told me that it's not always your grandfather, your loved ones who come back and watch after you. It can be people that you touched or crossed paths with where they still feel like they owe you something or they want to do something. They're looking out for you. So I think that's why he was there, but it's pretty cool. So that really hit home because how the heck, I've never told that story before. No one would even know that. You know what I mean? That was just a personal thing that happened in my life, and it just kind of happened two and two together. So... after that, I just started being more open-minded to the fact that I think we search so hardly sometimes for, no, it is grandma. No, that's who's haunting here. No, that's what I'm feeling. And it's when I go to locations, and I'm investigating and a little child's voice comes through or somebody you think you're communicating with because you have the fact of that person dying here. That's who it is. But then it's not that person just based on energy or based on other things that happen. So I don't know. I think just the world we live in is just so weird that we can't be so naive to say
back to you're investigating. First off, I don't know how you go into a place and just knowing it's haunted that just scares the crap out of me for sure. Because like I'm just like the only, I guess not investigated, but the only like haunted place like I've gone to is Fort Niagara.
Oh,
we used to we used to in high school. My friend lived on Lake Road, so we'd walk through the soccer fields like at night, and we'd hop the fence. And of course, this is not. I don't want to get in trouble now. This is years ago, but we'd sneak into the fort and just all the time. But we never really saw anything.
Right, just the thrill of it. Yeah.
I used to see things there though.
At the fort.
Yeah, I don't know if like where you went to school or anything like that.
I went to Looport.
Yeah, okay.
It's right
so
there.
Did they ever do like field trips over there?
We actually spent the night at Fort Niagara one time on a field trip.
Okay,
That's awesome.
So we did that. I was probably in like, I don't know, 3rd grade or something. And we went there, and of course, being me, I just veered off and I went on my own little path. Everybody else was doing like these tours and stuff, and Tessa goes off by herself. And there was this area, I don't know if you remember, but like they used to make bread and stuff. And I believe, you know what I'm talking about? And I walked in there, and I mean, to me, I was still young, so I didn't understand my ability at the time. I kind of thought that a lot of people saw these things or that it was normal. So I walked in, and there was this old woman making bread. And like me, I'm like, oh, I do this all the time with my grandmother. So like I wanted to go talk to this woman. And I'm standing there, and I'm having a conversation with her. And finally I got in trouble because I had left my class. And they're yelling for me to come back or trying to find me. And they're like, you know, what were you doing? Why are you off by yourself? And I'm like, I was talking to the woman, because there was reenactors, right?
Oh, yeah.
So remember? So like they would have reenactments happening and stuff for the kids. And so I'm like, well, she was making bread and I wanted to see. And they were like, there's nobody here doing that. Like, get back to your line and stop it. But Fort Niagara is a really cool, really cool location.
Yeah, it's different when you have to sleep there. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's really a mind over body thing, like mentality behind it, because it really comes down to your beliefs in general sense, is what I've learned. I've interviewed thousands of people. I've been to, over 1,000 locations worldwide, internationally, like some of the most haunted, like forget the hauntings, but it shows you how evil human beings can actually be too. Like I've been to some sinister places, like places that I think would even scare people to just walk in and say, ooh. You know, like the worst prisons you could think of, I've been to. I've slept there. I've lived there for 3 days. Paranormal Lockdown, when I did that was brutal. That was brutal because I would literally, for 3 days straight, stay there. And I'd live out of my clothes. I would eat inside the environments, and I would rest in like the worst places you could think of. And forget the hauntings. It's the location when they're decrepit and they're just abandoned. The environments are terrible. Like it's a really wear on your body. Like physically, it can drain you, and mentally, it just destroys you. So,
what's like the worst place that you like? Even you would say like, I don't want to go back there.
I don't think there is a place. Maybe years ago, maybe like 10 years ago, I'd be like, oh, that really messed me up, or the energy, or that made me sick, or something like that. I've had all that stuff happen. But I've built up such an immunity to like these things that I think I'm not fearful really of any location in the world. I think what makes me nervous is the negative energy that you feel like when you walk in. Like if we walked into this room and you just feel like, oh man, something feels uneasy. It doesn't feel right. It's uncomfortable. I feel like there's someone here, but you can't see, like from our perspective, you can't see that, but you feel it. You know, it's like having a horrible person walk up and you just feel like that negative person, and we're like, cool, right? You're like, guys want to leave? Like, this person's not right. Like, that's the type of feeling you get when you're in locations and you sense that energy. Like prisons, people murder each other. It's terrible environments. And then you just start feeling like some of that lingering energy that's still there. But I think for me, it's mental asylums. Mental asylums, it's just such a weird energy. I don't even know how to describe it without like going and experiencing it yourself. Like when I did Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia, and I lived there or slept there, whatever, investigated for 3 days. It was so uncomfortable. I was up on the 4th floor. The place is gigantic. And I was by myself, alone. Like no crew. Everyone would leave. We'd film a little bit during the day, investigate. And I investigated for 3 days straight. I had to stay up there by myself, and I had this long hallway. I put my my sleeping bag in the middle of the hallway. All the doors were open to where all the mental patients would be, like the worst of the mental patients. And it's the energy. And I remember you get to a point where your body starts kind of like physically collapsing. You have to rest as a human. So I remember laying down and trying to force myself mentally, like, you're not scared. You're not scared. You're all alone. And I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? You know, I get ripped out of my sleeping bag, dragged down the hallway. At least my camera's rolling on it. You know, like, I'm like, until that point happens.
As long as the camera's rolling, right?
That's how I think. And I'm telling you, mentally, it messes you up. Because I remember laying there and I'm starting to drift to sleep. Like, I'm kind of like in and out. And I swear I saw all these faces, like, hover around where I was sleeping, look down at me, and they're all like deformed faces looking down. And that was like, you just have to kind of breathe it through and like not, I don't know, not do the whole fear of flight thing, you know? So
no,
I
run away. He's so much better at it than me.
It's worse.
Well, you guys go on locations together now.
Yeah, we started to do that. Yeah.
Which that's so cool to have. I'm sure to have a medium's perspective and
it's awesome.
Get readings.
It's really cool. Yeah, no, it's really cool because you pick up on stuff that I can't see, and I don't know that's there, and you're like, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm feeling, and then I can validate with some of the audio equipment or stuff like that, or like I might sense the energy empathically or something. But
he is very empathic. He picks up on things. He can read spaces and energy and stuff like that. And I've noticed it picking up more with you, just being able to read, situations and stuff. But yeah, he's a lot better at sleeping in locations and doing all that. Like at Myrtle's plantation.
Myrtle's was weird.
I was not the happy person to sleep.
We left her in the room by herself.
And you'll see it in the episode. Like, you could see the look on my face. I think at one point he said...
Well, I have a blooper reel that I'll release. It's hilarious because it's straight Italian. Like, straight Italian wife. Like, I will assassinate you.
Yeah.
It was like... I remember Justin filming. I'm like... What did I say? All right, we're going to go down the hall. We're going to leave you in here alone. And Justin's on me. And he just pans the camera at her. And she goes... Does this like one eye Italian thing, like
he said something too, like along the lines of like, well, what if he was like using Geoport? He was using his audio device, and he's like, well, what if Tessa sleeps in here? Or something like that.
That's
and then
what it was.
You see my face, and I just look at him like, and I was like, "What? To sacrifice me? Like, what did you?"
Yeah. I brought you Tessa. All right, sweet.
But it's funny because then you hear him like giggle and walk away because he knew. Like, probably shouldn't have said that.
It was awesome.
But
no, that's great.
We got a really crazy evidence in that.
So where do the shows air? Are they coming out soon or?
Yeah, so we're working on an American deal right now. It's in the United Kingdom right now, Discovery Plus, United Kingdom, and then it's airing in Canada on CTV Sci-Fi Channel. Which is everywhere in Canada. And then we're working on like Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and then America is up next. So it's weird. It's because there's no network that's behind this project. So there's commissioning. When you commission a project from a network, they pay for it. You go out and you shoot it. They put it on. They own it. That's how all my other projects were. Like Ghost Adventures was like that, still is. Paranormal Lockdown was like that. So Deathwalker is all personally financed. We do it ourselves. We do it all ourselves, and then we put it out there. And then we have a great team that we work with, a company, and then they sell it internationally and domestically. And
cool, very
positioned way better.
I'm sure you get a little bit more freedom when it's done that way.
Completely, yeah. So like Ghost Adventures, you do the episode, you film it. You go back, you edit it, you present it. Network's like a gazillion notes. Narrative doesn't make sense. Rewrite this or do this or cut this down. It has to be specific on timing. You have to have what they call bump outs. So right to commercial. So we call them bump outs, like make it scary in this bump out. Like it wasn't scary. Make it scary. And then like you have this bump out and then whatever. But Deathwalker is awesome because none of that. I make 44 minutes solid. I make it how I want. Nobody tells us what to do. We make it raw and gritty and what it is, what you see. There's not like 10 other people like trying to like put their own stamp on it. So I love it this way. It's way better. I feel like, it's the most genuine paranormal show that I've seen.
I'm a very honest person. I can honestly say like everything he does is so real. And he's one of the hardest working people I've ever met, like, especially in this industry, because he's just, like, multi-talented, right? Like, you don't see people... Normally, when you watch things on TV, it's like, oh, they're talent, right? Like, they're there and they're using a device or whatever. But, like, from start to finish, You know, him and his cousin are behind it. From finding the locations, researching it, filming it, you know. Hosting it in general is tiring, you know, just to do that alone, let alone filming it, then editing it, and, you know, do everything. It's insane the amount of work that goes into it. But it's all so raw.
I was going to say, it's probably the most authentic that it could get.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's so
the cool thing about it is we're using new cameras and new technology. So we're really trying to like evolve the paranormal for a sense, but we're very passionate. I really love the stories that we dive into the narrative, but you know, it's one thing to put together, like, here's another paranormal episode, and it is what it is, like the typical oversaturated paranormal content you see these days. But these new cameras and the new things we're doing and low light capabilities, I feel like is pushing it forward because we're capturing like more stuff within a different spectrum of light and stuff. So that's what we're realizing. We got rid of all night vision. So we don't use any more night vision, so it's really cool.
Just a little cut there. Sorry about the video, whoever's watching on YouTube, too. So we could play the audio. We'll put the picture in or something.
Yeah.
So most people listen to this anyways, as opposed to watching it. But
That's cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
But I feel like in person and video, it's so much like authentic. Like you guys said, it's not just like edited or cut or anything like that. But so what's going on for 2022 now that we're in the new year? You guys have a show coming up soon, right?
Yeah, we have the first show for the new year in January 22nd in Buffalo. It's a really cool location. It's called Paranormal Oddities, and my buddy Joe owns it, and he created this venue. It's almost like we were just talking about New York City. It's almost like how do you explain it? Like one of those little like comedy club looking things that you'd see in New York City. Really intimate, cool venue. And we thought it would be fun to kind of bring in the new year by doing readings, you know, so I'll be doing readings, and then a Q&A between the both of us, because we get a lot of questions. It's like, you said the paranormal power couple. People always like...
That might be the name of the episode of the podcast.
Power couple, yeah.
It should be. You know, a lot of people refer to us as like, oh, you're just like Ed and Lorraine Warren. And it's
funny.
It's really funny because I respect them very much. You know, they were like the paranormal couple, you know, and we have similar dynamics. But yeah, so we thought it would be cool because everybody asks us so many questions, being a medium, being an investigator, his background, my background. So we thought it would be cool to do readings and then also a Q&A about anything paranormal, spirit.
Yeah, it's very intimate. So, and I think the building's haunted too, which will be exciting. So
and I've
it'll be
never
very
been to this
intimate.
new location.
Yeah, you're getting like who if you're like a fan of like your shows or like want to get a reading, like who wouldn't like go I guess investigate a building and also get a reading. It's
it's kind of like
it's the whole package.
It's just like this, us talking right now, basically up close and personal. We just like talk about all sorts of stuff, life, death, people, what's going on, and you'll be doing a gallery reading. So it'll be really fun. And then we have a really cool, exciting event that we're going to be doing, G Crew. So I have a podcast show I've been doing for years, and G Crew with Chad Lindbergh, Johnny Hauser, and Josh Hurd, and Tessa, Dave Schrader, who's a host of another show, and also Bobby Mackey, who's going to be performing at Bobby Mackey's Music World in Wilder, Kentucky. You seen the episode of Ghost Adventures, Bobby Mackey's?
I don't think so.
The honky talk. It was like our first episode for Ghost Adventures.
Maybe not. I'll have to look back. Yeah, now I got to go watch it.
It was wild. When I first went there, my cousin Justin actually found the location while I was on Ghost Adventures. And it was cool. It's like one of the most infamous locations. So we're having our huge event there. It's going to be live in the audience. And we're going to have our live podcast show. She's going to be doing a gallery reading. So that comes up in August. But
so
you should try to come to that, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
Wilder, Kentucky.
I've driven
one of the most haunted locations.
Really, I know. I've been back and forth. Like we were talking about all the festivals, so I was like driving back and forth to Florida a couple times and just like going through Kentucky. Well, I just like look at it, and go, oh my god, why am I driving through Kentucky?
Yeah.
But I have a reason to go to Kentucky now.
Exactly.
Yeah, Wilder. It's right outside of Cincinnati. Flying to Cincinnati, right over the border, and it's right there. Yeah, it's a cool location. Super haunted. I did an episode of Paranormal Lockdown, a couple episodes of Ghost Ventures, and I've been back there for Deathwalker. But now we're going to do something live there with like, you know, a good group of people, with the G Crew guys, with you.
That's so cool that people like it. I mean, because if you think like 10, 15 years ago, no one would have the opportunity to do. But now you could go to an event, get a get read, and then see like where you would just watch it on TV before.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, we have a lot more coming up. We just after the baby, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been taking up a lot of our time.
Yeah, but you know, just different venues, different events. Your show, I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're working on a
2022 is gonna
big
be
project.
I know. It was just like a year ago. We were talking like, "Oh, I can't wait for everything to open up," and we just
I know.
I know.
just a blend.
We'll just talk to the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, it opened up. Like we had a good year. We were just going to festivals everywhere. I think only one got canceled, and
Now,
that
where
was
in
gonna be.
Florida were you?
I was in Jupiter, Florida,
Okay.
Oh, nice.
on the
That's
East Coast.
awesome.
But hopefully, come April, we'll go to Tampa. That's like going to be the first one of the year. Then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hopefully, go back to. I know you mentioned Boston before. We
Yeah.
had the best festival ever
Oh, it's
at the
awesome,
St.
yeah.
Anthony's
Well,
there.
Oh, you were saying
in the North End.
We were there
yeah, a little
for
Italy.
that, and I forgot that it was even going on, and then I was like,
Oh, it's
why
big.
didn't we go to
Oh,
it?
I was.
it's
We were
big,
there.
yeah.
I think I messaged you. didn't
Yeah, I think you did. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I forget what we were doing, but we wanted to.
Yeah, we wanted to. We
I
were
took
like, we'll just take
her
all
mom
the
and
kids.
her down into that area. It's
Yeah, if
awesome.
you can, that's like the best festival we went to. It was
Yeah, it's cool.
insane, so cool. 300,000 people over the course of 4 days, and
Great
it's
food.
the north end of Boston is like I've had a ton of people say, like people from New York say, like it's the best neighborhood to go
Oh yeah,
to.
yeah, very
Oh, yeah.
historic too.
It's
Just
really
like
cool.
the way
Yeah.
it's situated. and
I think
stuff.
the day that we drove through it, though, it was like pouring rain, and I was so
Yeah.
sad.
It rained. It rained one day there. I remember that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to go see it. We got to go back. So now we have
Whenever
a
you
reason.
want. Yeah.
Now
That's
we
where I
have a
grew up.
reason.
Now, before we get going, I have to ask. Last time you had mentioned a grandfather came through for me, and I didn't really dive into it. So, if you're comfortable
Oh,
diving in,
I
do
don't
you
even
want?
remember that.
No, because I always said like I was like kind of afraid to keep asking about it, but I think if you're open to doing it, like
Yeah.
if maybe like a quick 1 minute reading or something like that.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because like I forgot that we even talked about it because the clip that I posted from our memory was just a really short.
Yeah.
So I haven't even watched the podcast in over a year. But you do have a grandfather, but you also have a grandmother.
Okay.
They come together. So I don't remember if it was. It feels like mom's side of the family that came through for you. Is that who it was?
Yeah, 100%.
But it's funny because the first thing that pops into my mind is like some sort of little like instrument that he used to play or like something about playing music. I know it sounds like really strange. I don't even know what they're called. I feel like my grandmother would get so
Ukulele?
mad at me.
Ukulele?
I feel like it looks like it, but it's not exactly. But like playing an instrument or playing something for the family, like I feel like he would like sit. Did he used to sing a lot?
No, not that I remember.
That's so interesting. I wonder if it's a different grandfather then. But it's somebody who would have either like been very entertaining in that sense, like wanting the family to come together, playing music for them, singing, kind of keeping things going. And the grandmother, because it feels very much like mom's side of the family. But I feel like the grandmother would have passed first. So I don't know which side of the family we're on here.
Both my mom's parents have passed. My nono went first, and then my nonna. So my nono died when I was 10, and then my nonna died when I was 18 or 19.
Okay. So I'm wondering if this is a different one.
Yeah, because that
'Cause
doesn't
I
sound
feel
like.
like grandma would have went first because it like I feel like grandpa would have wanted to say like we're back together. We're back together. Like I need to let you know that we're back together. And then also something about I keep saying like all my records. I don't know, there's like a big connection to music and like having my like old records or something that are being passed down. You're gonna have to ask your mom or something.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
something about having like I feel like I want to dust off a bunch of records and something about music and playing music and records. So I don't know if that's something that happened like recently, like if somebody looked through all these things and found them.
We definitely, I mean, in the past couple of years, my dad had a bunch of records, but I don't know where he got those records from.
Yeah,
I know.
gotta ask him. I wonder if maybe it would be his father then.
Maybe. That makes a little bit of sense, I
Now you
think.
gotta like come back and tell me.
Yeah. I know.
Because
I
sometimes
know.
that happens. You have no idea, but Dad might. But he's talking about like him finding his old records and something about his music and things like that too. So that would be.
You know what? My dad was just cleaning out the cubby in my house,
Yeah.
and I'm sure he like looked through like within the past like few days. I'm
Yeah,
talking.
that's what I mean. It feels very recent.
Okay.
So whoever this is coming through to talk about finding these or going through them and like dusting them off and
Okay.
wanting to either use them or play them. And maybe that's what he means by the music that he's
Okay. Mm-hmm.
playing. If it's not a literal thing, sometimes they'll show me something that isn't necessarily literal but would mean something else. But there's something about the records
Okay.
that come through.
I'm gonna have to ask my dad that for sure.
And did your other grandfather used to cook a lot?
My biological dad's parents are still both alive.
Okay.
So this would be my stepdad.
Okay, gotcha.
So he was just going through everything. I know there's
He was. Okay. Which of the grandfathers would have cooked a lot? I know we always talk about like grandmothers cooking.
my nonna cooked all the time. That was she cooked, but I remember her brother, my zio Mario, would come from Italy and cook a lot.
Okay. And what if he had something like in the heart, like a heart?
I'm not sure.
You're like, I have no idea. Now we got to talk. I feel like
this too. Okay, going back to like Italians.
Mom.
This is another thing about growing up Italian because no one tells me anything.
Right.
Like that's the thing. They like it's just all family secrets. And then like I remember my aunt in Florida. Like I'll go to visit and she'll like start telling me things. I go, no one ever told me any of this.
Yeah.
It's just like crazy family stories. I go, thanks. And I'll go back home to Mom. Thanks, Mom, for telling me anything.
You're like, guess what I just found out?
Yeah, yeah.
What side of the family did your Zio that you were just talking about?
My mom's.
Your mom's side, and he used to cook a lot.
Yeah.
So ask her if he passed from something to do with like the heart or something, because I keep feeling like my chest is filling up with fluid.
Okay.
You know, like something like what is that called? Where your heart, like congestive heart failure, something along those lines. But letting her know that he's okay, because I feel like he was like almost like a father figure
for my mom.
For your mom. Okay. So I almost feel like this would be for your mom then. So if she ever watches this. It's almost like he needs her to know that they're okay because she never got to say goodbye to him. So I don't know if it's because he lived further away.
Yeah.
But something about his cooking and like remembering that part of him. So I don't know if she was just talking about it or something along those lines.
Okay.
So just let her know that he popped through too. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I know. I don't want to like.
You got to let me know about the record.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna ask my dad right when I get home for sure. But thank you guys so much for coming out today. I really appreciate it. The day after Christmas, I know a little bit of late notice on my end, but I really appreciate it. It was a great meeting you, Nick, and I'm so excited to see what you guys do this year, and hopefully maybe come out to Kentucky. But definitely, I'll watch the TV show.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm so excited for that. It sounds awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, but we'll put links up for everything too when it comes out. But
great.
I guess where can everybody follow you and check out your stuff?
Yeah.
Just all at Instagram.
Getting choked up.
Their water's over there. Like
I've
the
been
kids
drinking
stole
it, yeah.
For me, to book, I always remind people to book readings with me. It's my website, so www.tessadelzoppo.com. You could find links to events on there, my Cameo link, and to book private readings that way.
You do Cameo? That's so
I
cool.
do, yeah.
Are you able to channel through Cameos?
You know, it's weird because I feel like people want me to do that, and I could possibly, but it's not the same because I don't have that person there. And so I use Cameo more for just shout outs. But there is a DM option, which I found to be very cool. I didn't know. Nick told me about it. He's like, you can DM people. I'm like, oh, okay. So I always use the DM option on Cameo for questions. So if people have like things happening in their house or they want to know more about their own abilities, like how can I develop this? There is a DM option on Cameo. But the video part I use just for shout outs or, you know, reminders, things like that with people. And then for private readings, it's always through my website.
Perfect. Yeah. And Nick, on Instagram?
TheNickRoff.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again for coming out. And for everybody listening, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to. And we'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.